foodie friends, and welcome back to part 2 of Cooking with Biltmore Traditions. I'm really excited about this one because in this week we're going to be doing 2 recipes, and one of them is meringue cookies, so I really can't wait to eat that one. But first, just a little bit of history. I took this 2 recipes out of the chapter entitled Time for Tea. And apparently, in the Victorian and Edwardian periods, wealthy American families would often adopt the traditions of the English upper class societies. And one of those traditions was taking tea. And there was a low tea, which was served between 2 and 5, and that just usually had like light finger foods and snacks. And then that one was followed by a high tea that was served between 5 and 9, and that one had more heartier food to it. And then that could even be followed by another evening meal that had a more lighter fare to that. So a lot of eating in the course of their day. So we actually took our 2 recipes from what was considered low tea. So we're going to be doing more of the light finger foods and snacks. So let's get started, and we're gonna get cooking and we'll see how it turns out. So here you can see, this is just one of the sample menus that you get at the beginning of each chapter. And what you would do is if you wanted to serve exactly the way they would have done in the Edwardian or Victorian eras, you would actually start at the beginning and you would serve all of these courses till the end. But we're only going to do 2 recipes. And the first one is this Tarragon chicken salad. You can see everything that you need to do for that. And then the second one is going to be these chocolate dipped meringue bites. And we're going to pan down the recipe, so if you want to pause that, you can see what we're doing and maybe make them for yourself. And they look a little bit involved, and it does take some time, but if you look over here at this picture, it looks well worth it. Okay, so I got everything ready for our chicken salad, and since our meringue required the egg whites to be at room temperature for 30 minutes, I went ahead and got those ready and put them in my mixing bowl. And I did actually end up changing a couple of things in this recipe. For one, it says it requires cooked chicken, which means you can get chicken breast, boil it, bake it, however you want to do that. But I actually went ahead and got a rotisserie chicken because I've made a couple different recipes of chicken salad before, and I actually just prefer how this tastes. I think it adds a much better element of flavor to the overall dish. And in my area, Publix actually has the best rotisserie chickens for the best price, and so that's actually where I got this. And I just got the original roasted with none of these seasonings or herbs. And another thing I did is, this called for fresh tarragon, but because it's winter, my herb garden is lying dormant right now, and I won't see my tarragon until spring. So I just went ahead and used dried tarragon, and I did cut it down to, the recipe called for 2 teaspoons of fresh tarragon. I cut this down to 1.5 teaspoons just because dried is usually more potent than fresh. And I also am going to use Dijon mustard instead of the Creole mustard, and that's actually because in my area I simply could not find Creole mustard. I went to 3 different grocery stores plus Walmart, and we didn't have it. So I'm a big believer in just using what you have, and I happen to have Dijon mustard at home, so I just went with that. So let's go ahead and get all of this together, and then we're going to start on our meringue. start making our meringues. Like I said before, I had these egg whites sitting out for 30 minutes, so they're at room temperature, they're ready. I've got my cream of tartar and the confectioner sugar, which I will be adding to the eggs. This says to beat them for about 6 to 7 minutes or until high stiff peaks form. I also have the chocolate and our shortening ready. That will be made into a dipping sauce later, so I'm really excited about that one. And once we get these beaten and ready, I have a bag with a tip ready to spoon the meringue mixture into, which we will then pipe onto this cookie sheet and bake for about 20 minutes. Now, if you don't have a pastry bag, and if you don't have the tips that go with it, and if you just don't want to go out and buy one, just take a Ziploc bag and snip the corner and you have one that will work just as good. So we just got done making our meringue for the second time. And in the interest of learning, I'm going to tell you the mistake that we made, so hopefully this doesn't happen to you. So I had my egg whites in here, and I had started beating. I added the cream of tartar, added the confectioner sugar, and nothing was happening. It was just liquid, just the whole time. And I beat it on high. I went for several minutes. Nothing was happening. So I went to Google and typed in, why are my egg whites not peaking? And it turns out that if you have the slightest amount of egg yolk in your egg whites, they will not peak. It doesn't matter what you do, it will not work. And when I had cracked the egg earlier, I had accidentally got a little bit of egg yolk in there, but I didn't think that it was going to affect it. Apparently it does. So we actually had to do a second batch of egg whites, and I was extremely careful about the egg yolk. And as you can see, let's see if I can get a little bit closer. If you can see there, we'll show you another close-up of this too. I actually managed to get my stiff peaks. So yeah, there's a little tip for you. Just make sure you never have any egg yolk in your egg whites and you should be fine. Alright, so I've got my meringue here, and I'm just going to start spooning it gently into my pastry bag, and then we'll come over to the baking sheet and spoon it onto that. So you can see I've already got some of the cookies already piped out, and I'm going to finish the rest of this cookie sheet. And I did not put it on a greased cookie sheet. I just have some silicone baking pads that I got from Costco that are absolutely wonderful, and I would highly recommend them for any cookie. So I just pulled these out of the oven, and we baked these for about 20 minutes at 300 degrees, and then turn the oven off and let them sit in the oven for another 30 minutes. We've got our chicken salad all ready, and I'm going to go ahead and toast some of my sourdough bread, and we will serve the chicken salad on that. And now over here we've got our chocolate chips and our shortening, which we're going to go ahead and put in our saucepan and start that melting so we can dip our cookies into that. And we also have a pan of melted butter. Oops. We have a pan of melted butter, and I'm going to go ahead and put our bread in here and get that toasted and ready. Okay. All right, we've got everything plated up. We've got the cookies dipped in chocolate, and we are ready for our taste test. I'm a little bit more excited about this one than I am this now. Uh-oh. Just because I think these might have been a little bit more trouble than they were worth, but we'll get to that. Let's try the chicken salad first.
All right.
Let's see, I'm gonna get this one. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
Mmm. Mmm. It's good, but I'm going to put a caveat on that. It's actually a little bit more mustardy than I've ever had a chicken salad.
Yeah, the mustard definitely is a little bit strong.
Yeah, and I wonder that might have been my fault because I substituted Dijon mustard for the Creole mustard. But I was under the assumption, well, for one thing, I couldn't find it in my area, but I was also under the assumption that the Creole mustard might be a little bit more spicy than Dijon.
I have no idea.
I know, I've never seen it, I've never tried it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's good.
It is good. It's
I
just
think the second time I would cut the mustard
probably
out a little. Yeah. And actually, it might also be because we are not mustard people. Or at least I'm not.
I like mustard.
I'm okay without it. I mean, that's just me.
But
what's the second bite? Are you a little more used to it, or is this still a little more mustard?
It's good, but the mustard is definitely the first thing you taste. Like, no matter how you eat it, the mustard is like, it's an overpowering flavor. A little bit more so. It's not bad. I like mustard, and it's not a bad taste for me.
Right.
But it is the most predominant flavor in it.
So, I think if you were going to make this at home, I would definitely cut down on the amount of mustard.
Maybe even a regular mustard rather than a Dijon. I don't know. You just have to kind of go by your own taste. If you really like mustard, then use the amount specified. If it's kind of not your thing, then you could probably cut it out altogether.
I've actually never had a chicken salad recipe that called for mustard. I
always put a little bit of mustard in.
Oh, really? See, I don't. That's why, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm just not a mustard person.
But when I use regular mustard, not the Dijon, it's not that strong.
Okay.
And I think you've had my chicken salad before and never realized I even put mustard in it.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know you were putting it in.
I always put mustard in it.
Okay. Oh, well. So, okay. Let's get to this right now.
Looks like it might hurt.
I know, it looks like
a sharp spike.
It doesn't have so sharp. It might be a painful cookie. Okay. The meringue, well, we already talked about that. We know the meringue gave us a little bit of trouble, but that was actually my fault because I accidentally got a little bit of egg yolk in it. But the cookies themselves, I think they puffed up really nice in the oven. They're very firm, so I was a little bit worried about being able to dip it in the chocolate. But that was, you can tell they're stiff. So
it's definitely a cookie.
These are going to hold the chocolate.
Yeah.
That's not a worry. As far as just baking time and stuff like that, though,
it takes a little while.
It does. It takes a little bit of time. You have to bake them for 20 minutes and then leave them in your oven for 30 after, turning your oven off so that they, finish in a lower temperature oven. But I don't know. Okay, you ready?
Let's see what we got.
Let's see. It's good because it's sugar.
There's definitely a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
I like it though.
I'm a little torn.
It kind of
I'll be honest.
Into powder.
It's
almost instantaneous. Like as soon as you crunch into it, it's like
it's a different cookie.
And it has to wait for your saliva to kind of remix it to get a lot of the other flavor.
Yeah, and there's something else too that I was thinking about. I was kind of thinking, like, where would you make this kind of cookie? Because you kind of want it to be a cookie that is eaten quickly and in one setting, I would think. Just because of the chocolate that you have on top. This is going to be a hard cookie to store at home.
I don't know, maybe we'll stick some in the fridge and see if the chocolate gives a nice...
Oh, yeah, I could do that. But I was thinking this would be such a pretty little cookie for a baby shower or a bridal shower or something like that, except for the fact that I think it's kind of difficult to eat. It's difficult to eat, and I'll tell you why. Because I think as a man, you probably wouldn't think about things like this. But if you are a woman at a social function and you've got makeup on, especially lipstick, with the melted chocolate on top and the fact that it's kind of hard. You know, you can kind of toss the whole thing into your mouth, but that's kind of hard to eat.
Maybe
like that.
We could pipe them smaller.
Yeah, if you do this for a social function, I would not do like the book says and do them. I think it was like 1.5 to 2 inches long. They wanted the cookie.
Oh,
I wouldn't do that. I think I would actually pipe them smaller and make them more bite-sized, because as a woman at a social function, I might skip this cookie. Just because I would think this is a really messy cookie, so I'm not really sure if I would want to. See, I've got chocolate.
I was gonna try to just bite a part of it and see if it like broke in pieces, or if you could eat it in pieces.
Okay, you gonna? I mean, it stays intact.
It stays together, but it's still kind of powdery. Like I had to catch some powder.
Yeah.
In doing that. So if you're eating it at a social function, it's a little messy.
Yeah, like I said, I think I would pipe them smaller and then have them bite-sized. That way, you know, people aren't feeling so weird, because especially if you're standing up and you're trying to have, you know, like catch your egg white crumbs, that's not a good look.
We'll have to refrigerate them and see. Once they're refrigerated, maybe we'll do an update. Or let you guys know.
Yeah, and just see what happens with the chocolate and stuff.
Or...
Yeah, but this is pretty awkward to try to get the whole thing into your mouth and then bite down. But yet it's even...
I still want more because it's sweet.
Well, because it's sugar. Yeah.
And I'm addicted to sugar.
Okay, but here's the thing. What would we rate these recipes? I had such high hopes for these too.
Not our best.
I don't think so either.
I would probably say 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. Ugh.
And mostly, honestly, this is the best part. This is better than that, I think.
Yeah.
And this is something you know, can make for a family and leave it in the fridge for days and not really matter. But
yeah, and this was easy to throw together too.
Yeah, and this was the easiest part of this. But it's still, the mustard was too strong. And that might have been our fault.
Yeah, but I did put 3. I mean, I did follow it to the letter on how much mustard.
So next time, I wouldn't eschew making this again, but I would definitely cut down on the mustard. Yeah. And I like mustard.
Yeah, and I'm a mayonnaise girl, so.
So I would definitely cut down on the mustard if we did that again.
Yeah.
That, while I like it, I don't think I would go through the effort of ever making it again.
I think that's another thing too. It does take a lot more effort than what I initially.
There was a crumb.
Oh. It did take a lot more effort than I initially thought that it would. And it's really just kind of more of a waiting game and trying to get your meringue into like the perfect peak. And I mean, your oven, you know, does most of the work, but like I said, you have to...
Well, you have to wait to get the egg whites to a certain
you have to make sure you're home. You have to make sure you have enough time to even get this ready for a function or something if you were going to bring it somewhere.
And you've got to beat it for a while.
Oh, there's our other cookies.
You just gotta turn it. Then it takes 20 minutes in the oven.
Yeah.
Then you just turn it off and you gotta wait another 30 minutes.
Yeah, then you wait another 30 minutes.
And we'll probably have to melt our chocolate again before we dip the next round into the chocolate.
Probably.
So, all in all, this is like a 3-hour...
Yeah, I don't think I would make these again.
A 3-hour endeavor.
Actually.
Unless you were, I'd make them smaller.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it specifically for a special event of some sort.
Yeah.
But I would never do it just for the fun.
Or leave out the chocolate and just do a frosting and like dip it into frosting. Like a smaller, pipe them smaller and then dip them into frosting. Like a buttercream frosting or a cream cheese frosting. Now that.
Cream cheese
I would eat.
Might be too stiff.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
No, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. Okay, so the tea chapter. What do we give the tea chapter? Are you sticking with your 3?
3 out of 5.
Okay, I'm gonna go 3.5 because they did use walnuts and grapes. It's pretty fancy for chicken salad.
I like it.
Pretty fancy. And I'm going to add the other half a point for coming up with some pretty good changes to this recipe that we would do that I actually think might be a little better.
Yeah, we could definitely do it better than that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, well, there you have it. You have our changes that we would recommend. So, you know, if you still want to pause the video on the recipe and try it for yourself, tweak it, maybe do, you know, some of the things we suggested.
Let us know how it works out.
Yeah, if you do try it, put it in the comments below. Did you use our changes? And if so, you know. Did
it turn out any better?
Yeah, yeah. Would you use it again?
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Well, there you have it. So, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, hit like. And of course, if you want to subscribe to more, we will have part 3 of Biltmore Traditions coming up. That is going to be a dinner, so that's going to be really good. Very excited about that one. I really think it's going to turn out better than this.
Oh yeah. Right. Sounds good.
All right, so thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.